So in becoming aware of your spiritual needs, what I'm asking you to do is really become aware of your treasures. What's in your soul? Again, your feelings, your attitudes, your behaviors, your choices, your limits. And once you own those and know those, then you're going to be able to protect them better and to nourish and nurture them better. I got a yard out there, and defining the property, I want that grass out there to be verdant and healthy, and I want the trees to not have diseases. Well, if I got people stepping over the boundaries and walking all over and driving trucks and messing all, I'm not going to thrive. That's how your spiritual needs are. So in terms of awareness, that list I gave you, your feelings, your attitudes, your behaviors, your choices, your limits, your desires, your talents, what you love, all of that stuff, those are spiritual needs. Now, when we take that, here's directionally how I want you to think about it. It's really three aspects of these needs, because they're all relational. It's your relationship with God as a person. I believe God is a person, not a concept or an energy field, even though he has energy. I believe he's a person like we are, and he's created us to relate. So it's all relational. That's why I think the Bible said, you can sum it all up. All of these boundaries are going to have to do with love. Loving God and loving our neighbor as ourselves. So you see three parties in there, right? Your spiritual needs are going to be in relational context of your relationship with God, figuring out the boundaries. First of all, who he is and who we are and who does what, who's responsible for what. So it's in that relationship. Secondly, our relationship with others. We want to have good relationships. We want to nurture good relationships. But to do that, you got to be in control of your property. Because if people are stepping over the fence and harming a relationship, that's where boundaries have a huge part in protecting that spiritual relational need. And then thirdly, the relationship with yourself. It's fascinating how we are designed to, whether you're talking about love or work, if we aren't protecting our hearts, and our hearts, maybe we've got woundedness, well, that's going to affect whether or not we're able to get close to people, whether or not we fear control from other people, or whether or not, if our boundaries are broken, we allow people to step over the fence and hurt us and can't even have good relationships, or our relationships are very sometimes abusive. So these spiritual needs, these treasures exist in those contexts. My relationship with God, my relationship with you, and my relationship with myself.
Well, hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us again for this episode of the Best of the Dr. Cloud Show. Henry and his wife Tori are going to be joining us to talk everything about marriage, or at least their marriage. They're going to talk about how they communicate, how they solve problems, how they raise their teenage daughters, and how they are communicating with their daughters now that they're young adults. I think these are all things that we've seen in our comments on Facebook, on Instagram, in our email. We get a lot of questions and feedback about wanting to know Henry's take on this. So for this episode, he's brought in his wife Tori, and the two of them have a great conversation answering questions from our audience. I really think you're going to love this. Also, we want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Tell us where you're joining us from. Give this a like. Just show us a little bit of love for the Best of the Dr. Cloud Show. We're going to be doing some giveaways for Boundaries.me memberships, and we're going to be giving away access to the Mentally Healthy Faith Workshop. So let us know that you're here. Say hi, and make sure that you're engaging in the comments during the show so that we can see you. All right, you're not going to really be hearing from me today. I'm going to let Henry and Tori do all the talking. So Henry and Tori, take it away.
This is my wife, Tori, and say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. A number of weeks ago, we had a lot of parenting questions, and especially parenting kids in that window between your childhood and adulthood, kind of the 18 to 22 range, of which I have two, and so our daughter Lucy decided to come on, or we talked her into coming on. And I got to interview her, and you got to ask some questions and all that. And when we did that, we also got a lot of questions from you that said you'd like to have Tori come on, and we talk about marriage or parenting, and kind of some of the ways that we do it, and ways we screw it up, and the ways we should be trying to fix it. So this is that show. So you get to post your questions to the team there, mainly on Facebook, I think is how they're taking questions today, about marriage or parenting. You know, we do both. Sort of. We're empty nesters.
Yeah. Oh, we have our puppy.
we did get a puppy. Yeah. So that anyway, start to post your questions. But here's one. So tell them about empty nesting, because everybody told us how traumatic this was. You know, and
well, I hope our girls aren't listening, but we're loving it. But we've only been empty nesters for 2 seconds. And with COVID, our one daughter went to school a month later, and then she's only gone for 2 months because Thanksgiving, they're back until January. So but it's like she went to camp.
Yeah, she went to
so we're kind of empty nesters. And then we have our puppy.
Expensive camp, actually.
Yeah.
We do have a puppy. But we've liked it. And
we have.
It's kind of like, you know, it's almost like back when, before you had kids, you used to have all this fun, and now you don't. And, no, I'm kidding. I mean, you just, you know, when you have kids for 20 years, it's like everything kind of is ordered around the family, and now we do whatever we want. So I like it.
Sure.
I like it. I miss them every now and then.
They'll be back.
They'll be back. Okay, so looks like Jessica is starting to put in some questions here. They'll be coming in about marriage, so keep those up. But Tori, I want to start with, I'm going to interview you a little bit. You can interview me too.
Okay, all right.
So what is, because you have some singles out there too. They're thinking, do I want to get married? What's like the biggest upside of some of the upsides of marriage for you? I hope
well, the best thing for me, shut up. Just a partnership. We totally have a partnership. Yes. I mean, I think that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the best, the absolute best.
And so,
because it would be hard to be with someone that maybe you didn't really want to be with. That would be terrible.
That's not a good idea.
We have fun. I mean, the best thing for me is I never get sick of you. I don't know how that happened, because it's easy to get bugged by anybody, but we have fun together.
We do have fun together. I think I think when you're talking about marriage, it's like everybody, there's all these high moments, right? But one of the best things about marriage, I think, is who do you want to go to the grocery store with? Or, just
no one.
No, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Like who would you want to just sit around with? And when, in other words, the activity itself is not adding any value.
Yeah.
What's got to add value is you like the person that you're with.
In case anyone's wondering, we have been married for 25 years.
25 years. And we dated for 2.5 years before that. So anyway, we've been together a while.
Since I was 12.
Yeah. So let's, do you have any interview questions you want me to ask you?
No, I'm so bad at this. This is, I don't know.
How can you be bad at it? We've never done it. You don't know you're bad at it. Stop that negative thing. Okay. Here's a few questions that, how do you parent teens with cell phones and social media?
Ooh.
The kids make plans without us parents knowing or at the last moment. Oh, really? That happens? Have we ever been included on any of our teenagers' plans?
Well, how old are the kids? I'm assuming that's teenagers.
They're teens.
Oh,
they're
okay.
teens. Yeah, pre-college. So
yeah.
they're making all these plans, but they don't inform. They don't always loop the parents in. Well, I've got a thought about that, but I want to hear yours too.
Well, go ahead, and then I'll interject.
Well, I think that there are these, sort of converging lines. I think through the teen years,
13 and 18 are very different, right? And so in the early on, I think you have more structure and you have more oversight, and you have more kind of planning of when they get to do what, this and the other. And I think as the teen years go on, really and hopefully, their center of life is much more outside the home than inside the home. And so you do become, in a sense, one of the stakeholders in their lives, because you want them creating a life outside.
Yeah.
And so what we would do is we would set a bar on sort of high level stuff, like, we're going to have family dinner, tonight, or we're going out for family dinner on Wednesday night, or we're going to have, your grandparents are coming over, or we're going to do a family brunch. So let them know ahead of time what things are kind of mandatory, or family. And then the older they got, they would say, hey, we're going to have dinner tonight, or whatever. And they go, oh, I can't, I'm going out with my friends. Oh, okay. And not be surprised by that, because you're trying to get them there.
And obviously, I'm assuming they can't really do that till they can drive. So there's an age thing there. Right? Probably.
Yeah, probably. Unless their friends can drive, and they're dating that 47-year-old. He comes and picks her up. That's not good. You don't want to allow that. That was a joke. Nobody laughed.
I wasn't listening.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think it changes over the years, and we were not offended when they made plans. And now if they made plans trying to spring something on that would disrupt something we had planned, told them about, them, it would be
or
no.
They're trying to get away with, like, out the door, I'm going to a party.
No, you're not.
Wait
no,
a minute.
You're not. And so you've got
we need the info.
Yeah, you've got to enforce your limits.
But if they know what you guys have going on as a family, then hopefully they're not springing plans on you. I don't know.
Hopefully.
I guess just set some guidelines that you need to
but you know what?
Where they're going. And
that's a good point, because they are going to spring stuff on you, and they want to spring stuff on you, kind of sneak it under the radar, right? And so you always say, whoa. Where are you going? Who's going to be there? Do the parents know? Are the parents involved? Is there going to be drinking? Who's coming? Etc. And it's not hands off, but you want to stay informed. Okay. Here's one for Tori. I'm sure everyone wants to know the dirt on Henry. No, we're not going to do it. Okay, we can do that.
Is that a real question?
Yeah, it says, I'm sure everyone wants to know the dirt on Henry, but can you tell us what you love most about him? Oh, well, if you can think of something that you love most about him. And how is it for you being married to someone who's so well known?
Okay.
We'll start with the dirt. Like, what's my worst? What bugs you the most?
I don't know.
Yeah, of course you know.
I do.
I would think.
I'd have to think about it.
I know a couple of things.
Okay. Well, let me go to the second part of the question. Being married to someone that's so well known. First of all, when we met, he was starting his career. I had no idea who he was, which was probably great. I wasn't in that world at all. So we just had a normal relationship. And then, he's Henry, so he's a normal person. I don't know that he's well known. I guess he is, but I don't know how else to say it, but I just know him as who he is. And so that's, I guess I have a big respect for him, because people are always asking for advice and things like that. And that's great. You want to be with someone like that.
Okay.
I got to think of some dirt.
Yeah, let's have some dirt.
I have to think
What
about
is the
Nothing's
dirt?
coming to my
Well, I can think of like 10 things.
Like what?
Like, for example, sometimes I don't always, because I kind of, I'm the latchkey kid that grew up, and I kind of will do stuff a little independently, sometimes without bringing you in, disappear.
Because you're more of an introvert and I'm an extrovert.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
That's part of it too.
Yeah. That's not really dirt.
Well, what would be another one? Sometimes I think you're going to be negative when you're not.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Hi, Finley. We got a puppy, as some of you know, and
she wants to join us. Oh!
She wants to join us, and she is coming onto the stage here.
All right, we'll just
and I don't want her to knock things over. Right, this is real life.
I did have the gate locked. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, so we might need to put her back around there because she's gonna hit this. Anyway, that's all the dirt.
No good dirt.
I don't know what. I think sometimes some of the dirt is that we have to. I mean, we have to manage a really complicated schedule because of non-COVID. Travel a lot, and so I think one of the hard things is we have to be very intentional about setting limits on work and travel and all that, so it doesn't interfere. One of the things that we do at the beginning of the year, before the beginning of the year, we'll put certain things in the calendar first, right? Like family times and vacations and getaways or whatever, to make sure that work doesn't interfere on those.
Yeah,
that's one thing.
Yeah, we have to schedule a lot of things. Well, historically, now with COVID and everything, yeah, we're not going anywhere. But
okay, so that's.
I mean, I would say
it's just more dirt.
I know. We're so boring. I would say maybe a little secret when we're. Sometimes if we do go to an event, maybe that he's speaking at and people know him and he's a speaker, so everyone wants to talk to him, we might hide like after.
We just, you have to hide sometimes. So. Sometimes. Anyway. So what do you, the dirt on Henry, what do you love most about him? That shouldn't take long.
Oh, I mean, so many things. Number one, I would say that just our communication.
What?
What? Huh?
What?
That we can talk to each other.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
important to me.
Okay.
When John Townsend and I wrote a book called Safe People, and in Safe People, we defined a safe person as somebody that had three characteristics. One was that they help me, a safe person, by having a relationship with them, they help me become more of who I'm supposed to be, who I'm created to be, who I really am. Number two, they help me to get closer and have a greater and increasing knowledge and experience of God. And number three, they help me become more into relationship itself. So safety ends up helping me become who I am, helping me to have better relationships and become more relational, and also help me get closer to God. So now when you think about spiritual abuse, what happens is that gets blown up. In spiritual abusive settings, you don't become more of your best self, who you're designed to be, you become less of who you're supposed to be. You get injured, you get restricted, you get controlled, you get broken. And any spiritual environment where those things are happening, where you're becoming less of who you need to be and are supposed to be and are created to be, that's spiritual abuse. Or where something's going on in that dynamic where you become less trusting of people, less interrelationship, less relationally competent, and you're moving away from relationship, or you're broken and you can't utilize a relationship because you've been abused. And thirdly, you begin to lose God. You begin to lose the ability to connect with Him and grow and spirituality should enhance life. It shouldn't decrease life.
Okay, I can flip that. What do I love most about you?
What?
There's really a lot of things, and I'm not just blowing smoke here.
I hope not.
You know, so things go well later. The thing, there's so many things, but one of the things that I love most about her is when I was dating, there were, and we talk about this a lot on the show.
You mean dating other people, not me?
Yeah, I wasn't dating people after you, but before you. Yeah. We talk about this a lot on the show that you've got really nice, kind, loving people, but a lot of times the loving people aren't very honest. Mm. And they won't say no, and they don't have good boundaries, and they won't confront you and all of that. And so they're just kind of like they're codependent, and everything's wonderful and fine. And whatever you want to do. And they have no limits, And then on the other side, you find somebody that's strong and will get in your face and will tell you to shut up or when you're wrong, or, has choices of their own and this and the other. But oftentimes they're not very loving. And what I love most about her is that truly she, and I kind of, I'm sure this isn't true, but it's true. I've never met anybody as integrated with love and limits as you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really true. Well,
but thank you.
Tough. No, she really, really, I never have to worry about is she doing something she don't want to do. She's going to tell me.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And she won't do it.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And on the other side, when she's kind, I never have to worry about that she's not being honest. And then when if something's going wrong, she'll confront me on it. And so there's a lot of safety in that. I love that. I love that you're so well-rounded.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. We have a lot of things we share in common, or I should say that we do together. You're great at business. We have a lot of things going on in the business world of our lives, and philanthropy and giving, and I don't ever worry about whatever she's handling. This is a big deal, that she's going to screw it up. She's just not going to screw it up. She's smart and competent.
Oh, I feel the same about you. And
loving and all that. So anyway, these are softballs. I want more dirt.
I know.
So here's one, Tor.
I can't even read that.
What are some practical ways that I can respond when her husband avoids conflict of any kind? It's like he rather outwardly will agree, but inwardly rebel and becomes passive aggressive. So what would you tell that wife to? Well, he's avoiding conflict.
I think you need to answer the doctor questions.
Well, but what would you do if I did that?
That's rough. Well, I don't know.
You don't know? Yeah, we don't.
I mean, here's the thing too. I'm so bad on the spot, so I probably know, but I'm nervous.
All right. All right. So
you answer and I'll agree.
Conflict. Well, one of the things you can do is just accept his word for it, and go. If he says
not play into
the passive aggressive or the where you're having yes, he says, yeah, sure, that's fine with me, and you go ahead.
Yeah.
And then so you don't go, are you sure? And pull out all that passive aggressive crap.
True.
And then what you do is you keep going, and the passive aggressive comments come out, and then you address those. And then you say,
oh, you told me you were fine with that.
Yeah.
So
tell your face. It's like you said yes, but your face says no. So I would address the passive aggressive and say, it seems like you're bugged. If you are, then I'd like to hear it more directly. And I would call it out.
But after they bring it up. I mean, after they start acting that way.
Yeah.
I think it's a good point.
Don't risk you.
Yeah. just take what they say at face value. And then if they start doing that, then.
Well, you did this to me the other day.
I did?
Yeah.
What happened?
Or with me. Well, you said, we were, so we had this party and safe.
It was my
socially distanced family. And so kind of afterwards, I was talking to my brother-in-law and we're watching a football game and the end of a football game. And so everybody else was chipping in and cleaning up and all this. And I was being a bad husband and not doing anything. And so later, she told me about it. And so then I said, well, why didn't you tell me? And she goes, well, sometimes when I do, because you've been working and all that, and you'll kind of, you said you act like it's such, oh, okay. Like you thought I was kind of complaining.
Yeah.
Right? And
it was a bigger, that was a bigger thing than just that night. It was something I had wanted to talk about, but it's been great.
For 25 years, she's been holding on to it.
Not true.
No, I think you said, there have been things recently where I'd done that. And so she wanted to confront me on it. And I said, well, why don't you tell me? She goes, well, because sometimes you've been working and it's your first break and I need you to do something, but, I'll ask you, but you'll act like, it's killing you. And I didn't really know I was doing that, but okay, I'll do it, so she told me, right?
Yeah, and it's been much better.
Yeah. I
just want to feel like a team, not like the parent or something. Like he's the kid, It's not.
No, clean up your room.
It wasn't a big deal, but yes.
But I think that word team is something that has been a strong word that we have joined around from early on, I think. Yeah, we want a teammate. We're seeing here lots of people are asking how y'all met. That could be the longest story ever.
We could make it short.
We can make it short.
Well, okay, the short version. I was on a date with someone else, a first date, and we met at a party.
That I was throwing.
That he was throwing on a boat. So
it was a Christmas boat parade in
Newport Harbor. So let me just
my
say,
boat was in
don't ever go on a first date on a boat because then you're trapped on a boat. So I didn't, within 10 minutes or so, I realized I wasn't a match with this guy. It was a first date. So I mingled around and Henry and I met. That's how we met. And then it's a longer story how we didn't have a date until maybe a year and a half later.
Yeah, because she didn't even live
in that town. But every time I was kind of in town, it's where my parents lived, we randomly ran into each other.
Yeah.
And then after a few times, we finally had a date. And
literally, Southern California, 25 million people, in the whole thing. Literally, when she lived in Colorado, but literally, every time she would come visit her family, we would run into each other randomly at a restaurant, random,
weird.
A high school graduation, a mutual, friends. And so met her in December, the next October, ran into her, the next February ran into her, the next June ran into her. She didn't even live here.
So we finally had a date in July and then our first date and it was not good.
It was horrible. It was literally.
Our first date was not good.
Horrible.
We didn't.
She was such an ice queen. I mean, it's like, I'm like, do you have a pulse? Do you, because, this is built up over a year and a half.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm thinking if she ever lived here, I would really.
Because I was in that.
Because I love talking to her.
I was in that time of one little season where I was dating a bunch of people. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll go out with anybody once. But I already just thought in my mind it wasn't a connection. So I was kind of closed. So it was not a good date. But,
which, by the way,
yeah,
a lot of singles do this, right? Two rules in my How to Get a Date Worth Keeping book. Even if they're not your type, okay, or whatever, or go out with anyone once, and the chapter says, and maybe twice. So our first date was horrible. I thought she was just like so cold.
But anyway, he, to his credit, he was thinking, you know, this was weird, way too weird how we met and we ran into each other and da-da-da. So he was asking me out again, and I was blowing him off. And then finally I just had to get off the phone. And so I said yes. And we went out and totally hit it off the next date.
Yeah.
And then it was history after that.
Yeah. That's how it happened.
Yeah. So you never know.
So let me see. Lots of questions about how you argue. How do you resolve conflict and apologize and resolve stuff? Okay. So how would you answer that?
Well,
what?
I think thanks to Henry, I'm always like, thank God I'm married to a psychologist, because I don't know, otherwise I feel like I'd be crazy, our kids would be crazy.
Not true.
I mean, but we're all crazy. I think we luckily can deal with people, conflict pretty adult-like, because we can talk and hear each other for the most part.
Yeah, I think I would put it in two worlds. I think that there's normal conflict. And one of the things that you do well is that you'll bring stuff up sometimes when there's a conflict or something, or something you don't like. You'll bring it up, but it's in a lot of times you'll put it in the package of you'll serve it up, and I think we could do better at this. I think we do better if we did this, or I really want to be a team, and it doesn't feel like it here, or whatever. And it's more like a problem to be solved instead of
a fight.
Yeah, or you're an idiot or something like that. I mean, I think that's helpful. But the other set of conflicts is there's a couple of ways in which every now and then there's conflict, but then there's conflict that triggers each other's vulnerable places. And in those conflicts, I think that you have to be mindful of, okay, I'm feeling this stronger than I should, and you kind of back off and chill. And I think one of the things that's very important is, Gottman talks about the marriage guy. What's his word for it? I think it's repair, maybe. But I think we're pretty good at repairing. Like we'll both seek out the other even when we're still mad or hurt. I think that's important.
Something that helps for us is we really do see things the same way. I mean, for the most part.
Yeah, that helps.
Helpful.
That helps. Anyway.
There are times, because I know people have asked me this, like, do you feel like Henry's always analyzing you, or how's that? There are times I feel like maybe last week, when if we're talking about something and he will get like the psychology, like the doctor, he'll start to talk to me very slowly and precisely, and I'm like, hello, like, who are you talking to? Just talk to me. Don't start doctoring me. So there's that.
I don't know. She and I don't know that I'm doing this.
I know. I tell you.
Just tell me. So let's see. So let's see. What else do we have here? Keep talking while I'm looking at something. Here's one that a lot of people deal with. Tor, it says, "How do you handle things when I'm out of town?"
Very well.
Very well. It's a lot easier. Yeah.
I think that means, what does that mean? How do we handle not like being apart, or?
Yeah, and how do you handle it? Are you?
Well, okay, so I have to be honest.
Basically, I can tell you, she sits at the door, just waits,
and cries,
and says, "Oh, if you would only come."
So we've
Actually,
been together.
party!
No, honestly, we've been together a long time, and it's not. I think we would both agree that to be gone, to have some times apart, not long times, but if it's like a night, here and there, and I mean it's probably been at least one night a week for a really long time.
At least, yeah.
I don't mind that. I mean, I think it's good to have your own thing and be just be separate, have your thing, and then when you get back together, it's great.
Well, another thing.
I mean, there was a time, I know it was hard for me because maybe when the kids were little, it was harder when he traveled, because then he'd come back and it had been chaos, and it was hard to kind of readjust, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I do remember that. It was almost like I felt like I'm walking into this like, "Hey, remember me?" But she would have had to have kind of pulled into doing everything yourself, and you kind of weren't as immediately kind of with me, and then you would have to sort of,
but
there's so much chaos going on those years when the kids are little.
But that's when they were like really little.
Yeah. One of the other things I think that we always have done is now COVID has changed this, but I'd say at least a couple of times a year, one is with your sister, or other times with friends or whatever. She'll go on a girls' trip, somewhere for a week or even more sometimes, and so it's like we're used to. We really value, and I play golf, and she has activities that she does, and we really try to keep that balance of there's we time, but there's me time and you time.
Yeah, because we're our own. We have our own lives, but then we are together. Yeah.
So since Henry's a relationship expert, does it get hard having a difference of opinion? No, she has no problem.
No, that's what I was saying before. Like there's pros and cons. I mean, the only con would be sometimes when you talk to me in that doctor voice, but the pros would be, I mean, I'm grateful for that. Like, he knows what he's talking about. I respect that.
Yeah.
Mostly.
It's there you go. Okay, let's look at some more questions. Do you argue? Yes. When you have a disagreement, does Henry have an advantage? Because he's like, I have no advantages. I'm 100% powerless.
No.
Yeah, we've kind of answered the conflict thing, but I don't think we feel an advantage, disadvantage thing.
I feel like we have a mutual respect. I mean, I feel like you respect my opinions and thoughts and feelings, and that's very important.
Well, I hate it.
You hate my feelings.
Well, here's what I hate about it. There's so many damn times when you're right, and I don't see it at the moment, and then later. And so that's one of the things I've learned over the years, that whenever she says something, I go, really better think about this, because she's right more often than she's not. Okay, so let's see. Here's a good one for Mrs. Cloud.
Who's that?
What adjustments did you make if any, after you realized the honeymoon phase was over? Oh, is the honeymoon phase over?
I don't know.
No one told me.
Well, I feel like there's just different seasons all the time. So it's all been different. So, and like, I mean, something about the travel so much, you know, it's like we've been married 25 years, but we've really only spent like
3 days together.
2 weeks together.
That's, it's really not. Let's actually normalize so people do know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Basically, I tried to establish a rule early on through interviewing the family and her and all that we figured something in the 5 to 7 nights away per month.
Oh, for work.
For work.
Yeah.
That was actually a positive thing. Everybody got to do their own thing.
Yeah.
And it didn't start to really become an issue until we got over that. And so we would always, one of the things we really believe in is we really believe in proactive structuring, thinking about the big important issues, putting the big rocks in first. So, you know, putting in the calendar, the family time, you know, for years and years now we're empty nesters. We don't have to have it, but we had date night, especially when the kids were little.
I still want date night.
Well, now we have them 7 nights a week, but that's something that we all talk about how important that was. Because people have kids.
I was thinking about that. Yeah. But just to answer the question about the honeymoon phase, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I'm so grateful because just the way our life has been, there's all these different phases and we've been able to travel a lot, just the two of us. And I don't know, every time, like, I just have fun with Henry. So I don't, I'm not going to say it's not over, but is it over?
No, it's not over. I said this to you the other night. We were going out to dinner and I just said, there's no, I get to go on a date with you. I mean, that's,
we just,
and I'm really, that's no BS. I mean, I really, really enjoy every time, we get to do stuff together, but
I think that's because part of that is because we have outside things, like it's not just us. That would be creepy. Like we have, our friends and maybe, our own things going on.
And that gets back to the structure. I think it's very important for a couple to have kind of a vision and a plan, a structure for their lives. And you have to be anal about this. We're not. But when the kids are little, for example.
We're not structured.
No. We are structured
really?
In this way. Well,
in this way. In what you're going to say, yes.
Yeah, no, we're not overly. But for example, when the kids were little, from the time they were born, actually.
Yeah.
We had every Thursday night, we had date night, and the babysitter was agreed upon, contracted. You show up at 5:00. We started, later than that. Then we moved it up.
Well, no, it very first started when our first child was like, months.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I don't know how many months, but little.
Because
we would just we'd put her to sleep, put her to bed, and then we'd get the neighbor across the street and she'd come over just for a couple hours. But so it started as that.
Okay, but then we found out how important it was, so we structured it.
Right.
So when you got a babysitter that's going to show up, and here's another thing: if you think you're going out at 6:30 or 7, get the babysitter to come at 5. We learned that.
Well, when they're older.
Yeah, because the witching hour,
to do
baths
the dirty work,
and
dinner,
so then
bath.
You're not like exhausted by the time you go out, right? So you can tool around for an hour or two to get ready and blah blah blah. But every Thursday night, and it doesn't matter if you're having a fight. Right. We're going out.
Yeah.
And so every Thursday night we would go out.
And it didn't even mean we would go to like dinner necessarily. We might just go like wander around in a daze because we were so tired, but we would just leave the house.
And then also the babysitter would come on Sunday afternoon.
That was huge.
At about 2:00. And
was it that early? I don't remember.
it was early to mid-afternoon. It wasn't an evening thing. Okay. Let's call it 3 o'clock.
I just don't remember.
But they would come over and we would just leave, because to have the afternoon and evening,
and when our kids were little, because it's like, it's like Henry's working all week and I was working too and raising the kids and all that. But the weekends are not relaxing. It's exhausting. The weekends are the worst when you have our kids are a year and a half apart.
It's like a vacation.
So it's like you're just going all weekend. So to have that Sunday afternoon and just knowing you had that, it was a good end to the weekend and then a good beginning to the next week. But that was
huge. And then the other thing that we had built in, we're going back to the structure thing, another thing that we had built in is we have a couples group that we've been in, same couples for 15 years. That, because people travel, it's, but we kind of think about it. We started weekly, every 2 weeks probably is the way it falls out, roughly.
Yeah.
And there's seasons.
It used to be every week, but yeah.
It's hard. It's hard every week, but we feel so grounded in that support community. And then we also have another circle of friends that we make sure we're working into our calendar. We want to make, to go have them over or go have dinner or whatever, and nurturing that community that you're part of together, I think is huge. Another thing that we try to do is have getaways with each other, maybe a night or two. Even when the kids were little, we would.
When the kids were little, we'd do 24 hours.
Yeah, we did.
Like when they were little, and I mean that was like change your world.
Yeah, and you might be in a hotel 3 minutes from the house, but at least you're not in it. And so we structure a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, really important. That stuff goes in the calendar first. I think the kids learn a lot from that, and I think you protect.
And then later, I mean, I don't want it to sound like we left our kids all the time, but
we have
Sunday night babysitter turned into Sunday night family dinners when they got older.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had one restaurant that we went to.
I think that's an important thing.
And we'd do like fancy dinner.
Yeah.
So they had to kind of dress up and, learn their manners and not fancy. I mean,
but I think that we would have, we'd always have family dinners and stuff, but to have one night a week where we're going out for family dinner, and it kind of, especially when the kids are little, it makes it kind of a big deal, and they got to put on a dress or whatever. But then as you get older, that celebrating the family out somewhere, and I mean, it doesn't, who cares where it is, but somewhere where that's our spot. And we have two particular restaurants that's the family dinner spot, that builds some things in, to the kids. So a lot of structure in that way planned. This crap's not going to happen if you don't plan it and put it in the calendar. So date night, getaways, family time, etc.
And by the way, it's not, neither one of us, it's not our makeup to be really planned.
No, we're not.
Just let me put that out there.
Literally, we're horrible.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff's really important to us. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, Tor, what would you tell young people to look for during dating? What do you think is important for a good, healthy marriage?
Well,
I mean, what do you think about it when you're dating?
What?
That's one of the things. We both loved dating so much that after we got married, the only bad thing about this marriage thing is you can't
that
date.
Sounds like so wrong, but
it's true. But didn't we both love dating? Yeah.
We did.
Okay, so what do you tell young people to look for?
Well, I mean, the important things to me, everybody's different, but communication, number one. Humor is totally important to me. I had to kind of forsake that. Just kidding. And then, but I would say something to look for or be aware of. There's the things you want, but then you got to think about the deal breakers too. Because I have some friends right now that are dating and in relationships and people I know. And, you know, they're explaining like this situation to me, and which should be a deal breaker, but they're kind of like, oh, but the person, we have fun, or we have this and this and this. So you got to know like what you want. Like for me, it's communication, humor. I mean, I just need to be with someone that's intelligent. So
sorry. Good luck next time.
And so you got to think of what you want, but then also truly like, what are your deal breakers? Because I dated this guy for like a long time, you know, a few years. And I just remember one day thinking, and you know, when you're younger, you don't think about this stuff, but I do remember at one point getting to the point where I was like, you know, I knew I wanted to have a family at some point, and I just looked at this guy and was like, I would not want this person to be the father of my children. So, you know, and like we had a totally great time. Like there were a lot of positives, but you got to know your deal breakers.
Yeah, I'd like to think about, I mentioned this before on the show. I think of the 4 C's.
Oh.
Do you know what those are?
I don't know. I probably should.
I think it's really important.
Communication.
No. Communication
Compassion.
is going to come from, compassion come from these. Character, competency, chemistry, and culture.
Oh, I did hear you talk about this the other day.
Yeah.
I heard it.
Yeah. The character piece is big, guys. I mean, that's what you're going to experience in somebody, you know, the permission to play character stuff, you know, lying and, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's like that Alanis Morissette song, 21 Things, 21 Things I Want in a Lover or something. But it's all stuff about not addicted, not narcissistic, not, you know, this, that. So the character piece is big, and the positive character traits like compassion and kindness, and that stuff's huge. That's what you're going to experience over time.
Kindness is a K, not a C.
No, but it falls under the C of character.
I'm just kidding.
So character. The second one is competency. Now, people don't think about this, but marriage is a partnership where you got to depend on this person to have basic competencies. Can they resolve a conflict? You know? Can they handle the business side of things that have to happen? That you know, can you depend on them to be competent in living? Because that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And the third one is chemistry. You know, if there's no chemistry there, then it's just like any other friend, right? And part of the chemistry, you know, obviously there's the romantic sexual stuff and all that, the chemistry of all that, but more than that, it's the chemistry of how you fit together. And I think one of the main indicators of that is timelessness. You know, when you're with somebody and you're watching the clock, or does time just go by?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that the chemistry of how you fit and how you roll, and you know, it shouldn't be that hard, people. When I tell the singles, if you're having to obsess about it, you got the wrong one. I mean, it almost shouldn't even be a decision, even though it is. And then the fourth one is culture. I think that you don't have to come from the same cultures, but you have to fit into and appreciate each other's cultures. One of you comes from a wealthy family, one doesn't. That's fine. But can you operate in each other's spheres and be accepting and embracing and loving the different things about one certain kind of religious, you know, expression, or, you know, it could be ethnicity, it could be whatever it is. But we got to be able to operate in each other's worlds. I think that's important. So, and here's one for you. It says, what were your deal breakers?
Oh. Well, I mean, like I said, that one guy I dated, you know, I was just like, well, I wanted to have a family, and I didn't want him as the father of my children. I mean, I wouldn't want to be with someone that.
So she decided to just marry another child, basically.
I mean, I guess, I don't know, like someone that had addiction problems. I think that'd be hard to, I mean, you could get over it, but to start out that way, it's not bad to say.
No, it's crucial to say. I mean, if you're with an addict, you're with an addict.
Yeah. I mean, well, intelligence and was important, which I think leads to a lot of stuff. Like it's competence, I guess, what you were saying. Like someone that has a job and can take care of life, and
that's a big deal. You know, being able to depend on each other.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, there's things like, for me, a deal breaker, I want to be with someone fun or interesting, and like not, you know, a kind of, if I'm not excited to be with the person, that's a deal breaker for me.
I think one of the things, you know, you're talking about the compatibility thing. I think that for me and you too, we talked about this, spiritual compatibility, like seeing things the same way, and where you're not having to fight about the things that are most central in life, seeing parenting the same, seeing money the same way.
I was going to say, because that's a big one.
That's a big one. Seeing giving the same way. You know, that's a real high value to us, and we're not going to fight over whether or not we're, you know, giving money away. I think that's kind of the big list, sort of.
Yeah.
So here's one. What was your favorite date night?
Oh, like in general, or like an actual date? What do you think?
Well, do both. In general, like one of your favorite kinds of dates. What happens?
I mean, there's so many. What comes to your mind? I mean, so
there's a lot of different kinds.
Yeah, well, we actually both love food. We're kind of foodies. We love to eat. So I would say
my range in kinds of food and amounts is different than hers.
Well, I'd like to say I've expanded your range, but not and lessened your amounts.
Well, there's some things that I eat that you don't too.
True. But I mean, this sounds so weird, but our beginning relationship was like a love affair with food.
We did kind of bond around food.
Yeah, we did. Are we running out of time?
No, I'm just thinking.
Okay. So that's always been enjoyable, like going to new places.
She's really good at, and you know, we live in Los Angeles where
there's
the
a lot of
options
choices.
are unlimited, but she's really good at researching, you know, new restaurants. I've been like a hole in the, she found this hole in the wall. This has been a while now, but this hole in the wall ceviche place. Over it's in Koreatown, right?
Kind of.
And they literally have 3 tables.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a little family. But just finding fun stuff like that around food, we do a lot.
Yeah, and even when we travel, I'm like that is kind of a big deal. Yeah, and we like to do that.
We used to love going to the movies, but
that's been like 100 years since that.
Yeah,
since we got to the movies,
except on date night. But then streaming came, and so now we end up you know, doing that here. But another one is we've had a lot of dates that involve activities. So we might be going to dinner, but we're going to rollerblade there or walk there. The other night we went on one of my favorite date nights. We went to the driving range and hit balls, and then rolled into dinner. You know, the driving range to, cocktail hour to dinner. It's kind of like this, what, a date where you can play golf? Are you kidding me? That's awesome. Or we would
Henry has a
do
Vespa,
other activity. Yeah.
like a little motorcycle so sometimes we'll do,
we ride
go down to the beach.
Yeah, we'll ride the Vespa to the beach.
Mhm.
We just try to integrate fun activities, I think.
But food, a lot of things are around food.
It is kind of continuing to land that way.
Yeah.
Favorite places to travel with each other. Oh, that's easy.
Oh, I
Should
mean, we
count to
love
3?
Italy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just say it one time. We just back to food.
Yeah.
That's one of them. And I did the whenever we go to Europe, but whenever we would be in England, I would always say, right?
Yeah, you thought you were from there because you feel so at home.
I feel so at home. I if I believed in past lives, which I don't, I'm from England, and I would always it was different any other country. So then I did the ancestry thing. I'm 99% English. But anyway, I love traveling Europe.
I mean, we love Europe, but we've really been all over the world. Yeah.
Yeah, and also back to activities. One of the things that we've always loved is scuba diving and boating in the ocean. So we like to go to warm water places where we can dive.
Mm-hmm.
We honeymooned in Tahiti and
we were in Papua New Guinea
and Fiji and places.
Mm-hmm.
It's not and it really doesn't have to be fancy. I mean, we stayed in some dumps. Yeah. But just to go there and have these great places and explore and
well, I would say we like to go to the off the beaten track places for sure.
Yeah.
And even in Europe, we won't go to the touristy, but we'll go to kind of the unknowns.
Yeah.
We like to do that.
What else? I'm looking at the questions here.
How do you approach friendships of the opposite sex?
Oh, that's a good
Should
one.
these be avoided completely when married?
That's a good one. Because you hear that a lot. I was hearing somebody, preach on that. I can't imagine a few relationships, friends. In fact, I dedicated my first book, Changes That Heal, to 2 women friends, Julie and Christy.
But they're more like mother. They're not old enough to be, but they're like motherly to you.
Well, they picked me up off the sidewalk when I was really, really depressed, and were kind of spiritual mothers, but they're not that. I mean,
no, I know it's not an age thing, but that's a relational, that's a different kind of relationship.
Right, and then, but they've remained friends. They're friends of ours now, but I can't imagine not having my sisters. And there are, if you want to talk about the faith side of this, the Bible talks about us being a community as brothers and sisters. Now, one of those you're going to pluck out and not have a sisterly relationship with is your wife. But are people trying to tell me I can't have sisters? Well, why? I mean, okay, if you can't keep your clothes on with your sister, then you got a problem, right?
That sounds creepy.
Well, no, it's serious though. I think community, and to the pure, all things are pure. So, if there's somebody you're really tempted by and all that, you shouldn't do that. But just categorically having friends of the opposite sex. I mean, you have guy friends. One of the things I've always loved about her was the guy friends.
Yeah,
we first started dating.
I know, but I was just thinking about that actually.
Since we've been married, it's a little different, but it's not a policy.
No. I mean, obviously it's weird if you have a really close guy friend that you're going out all the time.
Yeah, that's different.
That would.
But just having friends.
But I'm not against him having female friends. He's not.
No. I mean, if something got more exclusive than this, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I will cut you. That's what she was. Okay. these are all great ideas, yet for low-income families who can't afford to spend money, where the key is relationship building. I'm glad you asked that, because as I said a moment ago, these don't have to be expensive things. You know, we go to the little ceviche place has 2 tables, or family dinner could be at Denny's,
right?
You know, or there's ways to do date night and get a volunteer kid from the youth department to, you know, spend a couple of hours, and you don't pay them. I mean, I don't in any way. This is nothing to do with.
Depending where you live. I mean, because we'll even do this. Like, we live in California, so there are a lot of places within driving distance. Like, I mean, you know, where there's like camping, or like, you know, you could go over to Catalina and I mean,
pack a lunch and go to the beach. I mean, that's when, you know, we did that not long ago with the kids. You know, you take a blanket to the beach or to the park. So don't mean to, you know, we're naming all these countries. Like,
sounded kind of fabulous, but
it's not.
It doesn't have to be that.
It doesn't have to be that at all.
And I've gotten really into cooking lately, more so since quarantine. I've always been into it, but just, I don't know.
Hey, let's give our one of our best friends a plug here. Speaking of cooking,
Pamela.
Yeah, tell them.
So we met this couple on our honeymoon, and we were all honeymooning in Tahiti, and they have become they lived in LA. They live in LA. So they've become some of our close friends, and she she's not a chef. She's like a food. What is she? Because she has cookbooks.
Yeah, she's kind of a food expert, coach, guru.
Yeah.
If you go to her website, PamelaSalzman.com.
Yeah, right? She's amazing. Yeah. So I pretty much everything I do, and everyone's always impressed. It's all her recipes.
Buy her books.
Yeah. And they're easy. And anyway.
Her first book was Kitchen Matters. Right? Mm-hmm. And the second one was she put out this book, Quicker Than Quick.
Healthy recipes in 30 minutes or less.
Yeah, she sent us this saying, "Hey, my new book's out. You know, can you write a review?" And I looked it up. It's called Quicker Than Quick, and I wrote back and said, "So Pamela, is this a cookbook or a sex manual for married people or whatever?" Quicker Than Quick. Who knows that?
Oh my gosh.
I can say that. The network's not going to throw me off. This is, our own show. Oh, well, we're kind of running out. What's it like to see your daughters date? Horrible.
Depends on who they're dating.
Yeah. No, it does. It depends on who they're dating. Yeah. So Olivia is not dating anyone exclusively right now, but Lucy is, and I love this kid.
I shouldn't. I feel like we shouldn't say that too much in case.
Well, in case they might not make it. I mean, who knows? They're 18 years old, but I think it really matters who they're dating.
Yeah.
And there's nothing. It's just so heartwarming if your daughter is dating somebody good.
But it's also to answer
and
the
nothing
question,
worse.
It's hard to see them dating someone that's not the best. But I mean, they have to learn on their own.
So here's one, Tor. Do you read or critique Henry's books?
So his last handful of books, well, it's been a while now. You haven't even written a book in a few years.
No, I haven't. It's the longest.
But I did. I sort of like edited. Like I would read through and do that.
Mm-hmm. Very helpful.
But when we were dating, I read Changes That Heal. And I think that's a really, really good book. So yes.
And so then when we started dating more seriously, and right about the time that I think we were writing Safe People was when it was. It was right after Boundaries. And so I write this chapter, right? And she never had been involved in the process for because we were newly together. And so I write this chapter and I give it to her. And I said, "Can you read this and tell me what you think?" And she disappears for 30 minutes. She comes back. I said, what do you think? She said, this sucks.
Did I say that?
Yeah, you did. I said,
I know what I said after that.
I said, it does? And she goes,
I said, it
yeah.
has no pictures.
That's what she
Not
said.
like a picture book, but it was so technical.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
That's
then
what
he
she
started
said.
adding more stories and examples. And I think it
Yeah,
makes
she
a
said the book
difference.
has no pictures.
Yeah.
And seriously, because I'm kind of conceptual more than pictures and stories. But I remember when she said that, the first thing she said was, this sucks. And I thought, this is awesome. Are you kidding me? I'm dating somebody that will tell me the truth and has something to bring to the party.
But then I remember was it Boundaries in Marriage or Dating? One of those books. I was reading it and it's all, it's like Kathy and Bill, like da da da. And I'm all, this sounds really a lot like us. And like every couple, they all had different names, but I'm like, this is totally
It's
us.
not every couple.
A lot of the stories. I can't remember which
book.
Maybe it was both of those books, but yeah. Anyway.
It's all the ones where the guys.
He's like, no, I was going to say the opposite. It's like the guy was really incredible and accomplished. And I'm all, what?
Oh, gosh. All right. Okay. One last question and we got to end this. Tips on ways to support one another when one or both of you is stressed. My husband's a graduate student and working full time and on internship, so he's got a lot of stress.
Well, I'll tell you somewhere where I kind of screwed up on this, so don't do this. But he's an introvert and I'm more extroverted, even though I'm way more shy and he's more out there. But his schedule has been at times like really crazy and busy, and he needs alone time. So sometimes he'd come home and I would just like leave him alone. This is him being introverted, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I would just leave him alone. But I was sort of walking on eggshells because I didn't really know what he needed, but I thought I was doing what he needed, but then I wasn't really getting what I needed. So I guess what I'm saying is just ask the person what they need.
Yeah. Just talk about it.
Yeah, just talk about it.
One of the things that nobody needs is like you don't need bad moods. They're contagious. I got a friend, Jerry Blanchard, who headed up a big company, and he said, we had a policy at our company. He's from the South, and he talks like this. You ever heard of Synovus? Is a company that he started. He says, when I was a CEO, I would just tell people, if you wake up in a bad mood, take a sick day. Don't come infect the rest of us with that. And, moods are contagious. Yeah. And I think one of the things that you have to kind of like be mindful of in a relationship is what's it like to be around me right now? And you think about, because somebody's got to be around you. I think that's an important part of it. And I think nobody wants to live in being graded all the time, critiqued all the time. The mind needs, research tells us, we need 5 to 7 positive comments in order to metabolize one negative. And so I think having a positive, happy place is really stress reducing.
Yeah. And sometimes, I mean, I don't know, I could cheese out on this, but I'm really into yoga. But sometimes just breathing and, even like I did a 10-minute thing this morning, like, or even taking a walk or, I mean.
That's another thing that people ask about, well, what if you don't have money? It may be our number one activity
walking.
Is walking.
Yeah. Thank goodness you got your knee done.
Yeah, I got my knee done. I'm walking. Walking is It's been
That's a big
part. It's probably
stress
what ruined my
release.
knees is all the walking. Okay. I guess we got to end this. If you guys like this and you wanted to come back, I would love for you to come back. Just tell us on the comments.
If you didn't like it, just lie.
Yeah, just lie.
Just kidding.
Just lie. New movie or show recommendation. We'll end on that. We just finished it, and we're so sad that it's over. But there's a BBC.
It's so specific though. Like but we're into crime.
We're into crime
and like not
mystery.
Yeah, I was gonna say mystery, but
the BBC had a show called Broadchurch.
Really good.
Really, really good. We just finished that.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this. Remember, if you want to read about all the kind of stuff, the philosophy that we kind of think about and look at and all that, go to boundaries.me, because there's like 70 or 80 courses on there about all the principles that we always try to do in our relationship and life and stuff. Boundaries.me, a lot of stuff on there about marriage and dating and relationships, as well as stress and stuff. And we forgot the most important thing about a successful marriage.
What? I'm scared. What?
You've got to have a dog.
Oh.
You always have to have
that, but okay.
Yes, you do.
Oh, okay.
Why do you say you don't know that?
That's more of a family thing than a marriage thing.
No, we had dogs before we had kids.
That's true. That is true. We had a minivan before we had kids.
We did, because of bikes and dogs.
And dogs.
Okay, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time. Tomorrow is a little different day. I have a client day tomorrow, and have an all-day engagement. We'll put either a show we've already filmed up, or we'll do something. But something will happen tomorrow, so just check the venues. Okay. All right.
All right.
Kudos to my superstar co-host here. And will you come back?
Maybe, if people want me.
Okay. If you want her, she'll come back. Okay, guys. We'll see you.
Well, hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the Best of the Dr. Cloud Show, where Henry and Tori talk about their marriage. We had a great time just communicating with you in the comments. We enjoyed being with you. Thanks again for joining us. We will see you for the next episode.